In the late 1960s, America was a nation at war with itself. While the Vietnam War raged overseas, a different battle was fought at home, a battle over the truth. Night after night, the government assured the public of progress, of a light at the end of the tunnel. But what if that was a lie? What if the proof of that lie already existed, locked away in a Pentagon safe? This is the story of a secret history, a 7,000-page official government autopsy of its own failed war, revealing decades of deception spanning 4 presidencies. It was commissioned in secret by the very man who architected the war, and it was never meant for public eyes. But one man, an insider tortured by his conscience, dared to leak it. His act of defiance would pit the nation's most powerful newspaper against the President of the United States, sparking a constitutional crisis that would redefine the relationship between the government and the governed. How powerful is a single secret, when its revelation could bring down a presidency and change the course of American history? The story of the Pentagon Papers begins not with a leak, but with a crisis of conscience in the mind of the war's chief architect. By 1967, Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara, the brilliant, data-driven face of the war, was a man haunted by his own metrics. Publicly, he projected unwavering confidence. Privately, he saw a bloody stalemate, a quagmire swallowing lives with no end in sight. The war, he was beginning to realize, was unwinnable. From this crucible of doubt, he issued a secret directive to compile an encyclopedic and objective history of American decision-making in Vietnam. He wanted to know how the best and the brightest had led the world's greatest superpower down a path of such disastrous miscalculation. The project was shrouded in secrecy. A team of 36 analysts was given access to the Pentagon's most sensitive archives. Over 18 months, they produced a staggering 47-volume, 7,000-page document. It was a government's internal confession of its own decades-long campaign of deception. And herein lies the paradox. The man who commissioned this monument to truth was, at that very moment, publicly testifying before Congress, sending more young men to fight for a cause he privately believed was lost. He never intended for the American people to see it. The papers revealed a story of deception that began not in the 1960s, but just after World War II. They showed that President Truman, while publicly supporting self-determination, was secretly bankrolling nearly 80% of France's colonial war in Indochina. After the French failed, the Eisenhower administration deliberately sabotaged the 1956 national elections meant to unify Vietnam, because their own intelligence showed the communist leader Ho Chi Minh would win in a landslide. America had not defended democracy in Vietnam, it had actively thwarted it. The Kennedy administration deepened the duplicity. The public was told American personnel were merely advisors, but the documents revealed a story of covert operations and direct American involvement in combat. The most profound betrayal was reserved for the South Vietnamese leader America had installed. In 1963, viewing Ngo Dinh Diem as a liability, the Kennedy administration sent secret cables giving a green light to a military coup. When the coup ended in Diem's assassination, the White House feigned shock. The secret history proved the United States was a silent partner in the regicide of its own ally. But it was President Lyndon Johnson who constructed the towering edifice of deception. In August 1964, America was told North Vietnam had launched an unprovoked attack on U.S. destroyers in the Gulf of Tonkin. But the papers revealed the evidence for the second, crucial attack was almost non-existent, likely based on, quote, freak weather effects and overeager sonar operators. The most damning revelation of all? The study contained drafts of the Gulf of Tonkin resolution, the document giving Johnson a blank check for war, written asterisk before the alleged attacks had even occurred. The incident wasn't the reason for escalation, it was the pretext Johnson needed to unleash the full weight of American military power on Vietnam. A secret of this magnitude required a catalyst to escape its tomb. It found one in Daniel Ellsberg. Ellsberg was no dissident, he was the system's brilliant son. A Harvard PhD, a former Marine, and a senior analyst at the Rand Corporation. He was a hawk who had advised McNamara and helped write the very history he was now reading. For him, the 7,000 pages were a devastating confrontation with his own life's work. The war, he realized, was built on a foundation of lies passed down from one president to the next. The moral tipping point came when Ellsberg heard a young war resistor named Randy Keeler speak, a man willing to go to prison for his beliefs. Ellsberg asked himself a painful question: what was he willing to risk? The analyst became an activist. Beginning in the fall of 1969, night after night, Ellsberg smuggled sections of the report out of Rand. Using a friend's Xerox machine, he began the grueling, manual labor of copying thousands of pages. He was violating the Espionage Act, risking a lifetime in prison to serve what he saw as a higher patriotism, an allegiance not to the government's secrets, but to the nation's people. In the spring of 1971, those copied pages arrived in cardboard boxes at the New York Times. The newspaper's lawyers warned of ruin and prosecution under the Espionage Act, but its editors argued for their constitutional duty to inform the public. The decision was made in a secret hotel suite to avoid surveillance. They would publish. On Sunday, June 13th, the first installment landed on doorsteps across America. The White House reaction was a political explosion. President Richard Nixon was enraged. He didn't see a story about his predecessors. He saw a mortal threat to the presidency itself. His administration did something almost unprecedented. It sought a court order to gag the press on grounds of national security. A judge granted a temporary injunction. The presses fell silent, but the story was now bigger than one newspaper. Ellsberg, now a fugitive from the FBI, leaked portions to the Washington Post. The Post's publisher, Katharine Graham, facing the potential destruction of her family's company, made a courageous choice. Go ahead, let's publish. The legal skirmish became a constitutional war, rocketing to the Supreme Court in a breathtaking 13 days. The case, New York Times Company versus United States, pitted national security against the First Amendment. On June 30th, 1971, the court ruled 6-3 in favor of the press. In a soaring opinion, Justice Hugo Black declared the press was meant to serve the governed, not the governors. The secret history of the war was now, finally, public history. The Supreme Court's decision was a victory for the press, but inside the White House, it landed like a declaration of war. Nixon's fury over the leak led him to forge a new, clandestine weapon, a special investigations unit tasked with stopping leaks, nicknamed the White House Plumbers. Their first target was Daniel Ellsberg. Their mission: destroy his character. Led by E. Howard Hunt and G. Gordon Liddy, the Plumbers orchestrated their first illegal act, a break-in at the office of Ellsberg's psychiatrist, hoping to find and leak damaging personal information. The burglary was a failure, but its consequence was catastrophic. This crime, born directly from Nixon's rage over the Pentagon Papers, established a terrifying precedent: that the president's men could operate outside the law. It created a covert unit, loyal only to the Oval Office, now practiced in political espionage. Less than a year later, this very same apparatus would be deployed again, this time at the Democratic National Committee headquarters in the Watergate Hotel. The break-in at the psychiatrist's office was the dress rehearsal. Watergate was the main performance. The legacy of the Pentagon Papers is therefore twofold. The lies revealed in the documents shattered the public's faith in the government. The crimes committed to punish the truth-teller then shattered their faith in the rule of law itself. The story stands as a permanent, cautionary monument to the devastating consequences of choosing secrecy over accountability, a choice that forced the nation to confront a timeless question. In the perpetual conflict between national security and the public's right to know, who guards the guardians? The story of the Pentagon Papers leaves us with a stark picture and a timeless question: who guards the guardians? That is the question we will continue to investigate. Thank you for joining us on this investigation. If you believe these stories need to be told, please support our work by liking this video and subscribing to our channel. And to be sure you don't miss what we uncover next, click the notification bell for our next investigation. Until next time.